Scientists are warning that California may face a megastorm unlike anything seen in recent history. This threat isn't science fiction. It's rooted in real climate models and centuries-old geologic flood evidence. The storm, known as an arc storm, could dump weeks' worth of rain in only several days. Arc storm stands for Atmospheric River 1000 Storm, a rare event with devastating consequences for the state. Atmospheric rivers are massive air currents that carry tropical moisture straight into the west coast. These rivers in the sky can be hundreds of miles wide and stretch thousands of miles long. When they stall over California, they unload unimaginable volumes of rain and snow at once. In 1862, such a storm flooded much of the Central Valley, turning it into a temporary lake. That storm killed thousands, bankrupted the state, and forced the government to relocate temporarily. Modern scientists fear a repeat event would be far deadlier given today's dense population and infrastructure. Recent research shows that climate change is intensifying atmospheric rivers and shifting their patterns. The storms are becoming more frequent, more intense, and increasingly unpredictable across the Pacific region. California has always experienced periodic megastorms, but global warming may be accelerating their return. The U.S. Geological Survey created a disaster scenario called Arc Storm to model a modern catastrophe. In that scenario, a storm hits Northern California and stalls, dumping relentless rain for over 3 weeks. Levees break, mudslides bury towns, and thousands of square miles flood under stormwater and runoff. LA and San Francisco highways disappear beneath water and landslides, isolating millions of residents. Utilities collapse, water systems fail, and emergency services are overwhelmed within just days of flooding. Experts believe an arc storm could displace more people than any wildfire or earthquake in California's history. They estimate damages could exceed $725 billion, 3 times the cost of Hurricane Katrina. The danger isn't only the rain, it's the chain reactions that follow in already fragile terrain. Years of drought have hardened California's soil, making it less absorbent and more prone to rapid flooding. When saturated, hillsides crumble and release debris, flows capable of destroying entire neighborhoods. Wildfires worsen the situation by burning vegetation that normally absorbs water and stabilizes the land. A single storm cell over a burn scar can cause catastrophic mud flows within minutes of rainfall. Animals aren't spared. Floods displace wildlife, drown habitats, and force predators into urban areas. Coyotes, mountain lions, and even bears could flee rising waters into populated suburbs. Freshwater ecosystems would be choked with sediment, disrupting fish migrations and aquatic food chains. Bird nesting sites could be washed away, especially in wetland preserves near flood-prone valleys. Agriculture, the backbone of California's economy, would be devastated by prolonged flooding. Orchards and vineyards would drown, and irrigation systems could take years to fully restore. Livestock trapped on flooded ranches would perish in large numbers, compounding the food supply crisis. Mass evacuations would be required in areas like Sacramento, Fresno, and parts of Los Angeles. Hospitals might lose power or be cut off by flooded roads, delaying life-saving care for thousands. Emergency shelters would fill rapidly, with displaced families relying on limited aid and overwhelmed resources. Schools would close for weeks, if not months, due to unsafe buildings or impassable infrastructure. California's aging dam system is a huge concern, with some structures already listed as vulnerable. A failure at Oroville Dam, for example, could send a wall of water rushing toward populated towns. Many levees across the Central Valley weren't built to handle weeks of sustained pressure from megastorms. If multiple levees break, inland regions could face catastrophic losses and long-term displacement. Insurance coverage wouldn't come close to covering the sheer scale of flood-related destruction. Homeowners outside traditional flood zones wouldn't be covered, leaving millions financially devastated. Urban centers could become inaccessible as airports close, train lines wash out, and fuel runs short. Even emergency responders might be unable to reach victims trapped by rising waters and collapsed roads. The economic fallout would ripple nationwide, affecting food prices, housing, and global shipping. Ports in Los Angeles and Oakland would be submerged or offline, stalling billions in trade and supply chains. In the tech industry, servers and power grids could fail, disrupting major platforms and global services. Evacuations would likely include domestic pets, zoo animals, and livestock, stressing animal rescue networks. Animal shelters would scramble to care for displaced pets and wildlife injured by floods and mudslides. Rescuers might encounter animals in distress, from drowning deer to stranded mountain lions. Zoos would activate emergency flood protocols, relocating species from outdoor enclosures to safe higher ground. Marine animals in aquariums could be affected if filtration or electrical systems are damaged by water. Conservation groups are already planning for wildlife rescue and rehabilitation following such megastorms. Bird sanctuaries, especially for endangered species, could lose years of conservation progress in one storm. Amphibians like frogs and salamanders, highly sensitive to water chemistry, would face mass die-offs. Wetlands that serve as breeding grounds could vanish beneath muddy, polluted stormwater for weeks. Climate scientists argue this is a matter of when, not if, and planning must begin immediately. They're using satellite data and historical records to identify the most vulnerable regions across California. Updated models show the Sierra Nevada could receive over double its typical snowpack in 1 week. When it melts rapidly, lowland areas could flood while mountain towns are buried under unstable snow layers. Emergency managers are pushing for stronger evacuation routes, better communication systems, and more flood-resistant infrastructure. Many floodplain maps are outdated and underestimate current storm potential under modern climate conditions. California is expanding its early warning system to include atmospheric river tracking and real-time risk alerts. Researchers are calling for expanded wetlands, which act as natural sponges to absorb excess rainwater. They also suggest removing development from high-risk zones near levees, dams, and rivers. Urban planning must shift from drought defense to flood mitigation, especially as the climate rapidly evolves. Communities are being encouraged to elevate homes, seal basements, and store emergency supplies for flood conditions. Public awareness campaigns are teaching families how to prepare for long-term outages and evacuations. Some schools are even integrating climate disaster response into their curriculum to build resilience early. California's wildlife agencies are revising emergency protocols to address the unique challenges posed by megastorms. That includes animal transport plans, veterinary coordination, and habitat restoration following major flooding. Meanwhile, scientists are studying beavers for inspiration. These ecosystem engineers slow floodwaters by building natural dams. Reintroducing beavers to certain areas could reduce downstream flooding and help wetlands recover faster. River otters and native fish could benefit from this ecosystem buffering if properly managed by wildlife services. Satellite imagery has shown massive soil erosion after recent atmospheric river events in Northern California. This erosion harms fish spawning grounds, drinking water sources, and long-term soil health across regions. After just 1 week of intense rain, salmon populations in some rivers declined significantly in survival rates. If a megastorm persists for weeks, entire fish generations could be wiped out before reaching adulthood. The state is investing in living levees that combine flood control with wildlife-friendly vegetation buffers. These nature-based solutions help absorb water, reduce erosion, and restore ecological balance long-term. Citizen science programs are also tracking animal movements and ecosystem changes before and after major storms. Volunteers are helping monitor floodplains, rescue animals, and document water quality impacts after each major event. The goal is to build a massive, distributed dataset to improve future response strategies and predictions. Every year without an arc storm increases the likelihood of the next one being even more destructive. The moisture available in the Pacific is growing, and jet streams are behaving less predictably than ever. Warmer ocean temperatures mean atmospheric rivers can carry more water vapor, fueling stronger, longer-lasting storms. In recent years, even moderate storms have overwhelmed drainage systems in Los Angeles and San Diego. Those were warnings, a preview of what a true ARC storm could do in a worst-case scenario. Local, state, and federal coordination is now seen as essential to managing the next megastorm's fallout. Emergency drills are being updated to consider weeks-long flooding, not just a few days of rain. Communities need more flood insurance education, including pet evacuation planning and livestock protections. Wildlife parks are building elevated enclosures and escape routes in case stormwater breaches fences or barriers. Veterinarians are preparing field kits for rapid deployment in disaster zones alongside human rescue teams. Even small wildlife rehab centers are expanding capacity in preparation for larger-scale flood emergencies. Climate communicators stress that this isn't doomsday hype. It's about readiness, adaptation, and resilience. California may not avoid the next megastorm, but it can reduce suffering and protect its ecosystems. And the animals, big and small, deserve a chance to survive what nature has brewing in the skies.